Yo,
Okay.
yo. Hooray.
Max Egan, we meet you here in Amsterdam. Why are you here?
Well, I actually came here just to visit some friends, but I was lucky enough to be here at the time the March from Monsanto was on, so I thought I'd come along to it. I actually came here just for a couple of days off to meet a couple of friends on my way to Spain. I'm going to Spain to organise, have a big meeting to try to launch Full Circle project in June. So it's just a stop-off point, really. A couple of days off.
We're here at the March for, against Monsanto, I should say, against TTIP as well. How is your viewpoint on that?
Oh, look, absolutely. We've got to stop this. It's absolutely disgraceful what they're doing. This is the corporate rape of the entire planet through something disguised as free trade. It's not about free trade at all. It's about taking control of whatever resources they want and bypassing any local legislation that may prevent them from doing so. So it's really important to see people doing these things and standing up for all of this. And but I'd like to see it taken further. You know, people have to understand that what they're addressing here is a symptom. It's a symptom of a larger problem, which is the abuse of office, which has allowed Monsanto to get this type of control. So while it is good to have these marches and to show solidarity, it's not going to achieve anything unless people push it a little bit further and realise that they're dealing with a symptom of a larger problem.
Yes, many people say that protesting is no use. We heard about the new initiative that you are taking in this respect. I think that beyond getting knowledge, we want to make steps into the future. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, what I'm doing with Full Circle Project is exactly this. I mean, what I'm creating with Full Circle Project is a vehicle whereby people can link up. You get so many people in so many communities who are awake and they don't know who to talk to around them. We want to be able to link all these people up. We want to be able to link all of these groups up together into one global movement, because at the moment it's too fractured and everyone's addressing symptoms. They're very, very focused on their own issue, which could be Monsanto, could be the whaling, could be the homelessness, could be the fracking, whatever. We've got to realise all of these things are symptoms of a higher problem, which is abuse of office, which continues because of disunited, disempowered communities. If we can link all these groups up together and create a vehicle to do so, a global vehicle, so that when there is action like this, you'll see it in every town that's involved in the project, and you'll see them addressing it not as a symptom, but addressing it, going for the throat, looking at it as going for the root cause, going for the abuse of office that's allowed this to happen. Because that's the only way we're going to get control of this system and fix any of these problems, is to address the legislation that allows them. And that's only when people readjust their perspective of who and what they are. You know, we've got a legal system it's dysfunctional, but there's mechanisms in it we can use to steer us back to a point of safety where we can kind of regroup, and that's what I'm trying to do with Full Circle Project.
Okay, and I also heard something about the simple conspiracy behind the complex conspiracy.
Well, yeah, I think there's been a massive amount of misdirection in dealing with this problem. You know, everything we're presented with is always a big controlling hand that we can't do anything about. It's so powerful, there's nothing we can do, you know, and you get fed this idea that you're just a little person. And a lot of these conspiracies, I mean, sure, there is a group of very powerful people who talk to each other and they've got a plan. But it's not something that's insurmountable. You know, it's not this terrible Illuminati that's using all of these nefarious means. And see, all you got to do is have a few people that own the movie companies and own the newspapers, and they can put their symbolism everywhere, and suddenly you see it everywhere, and you think, oh my God, they're all powerful and there's nothing I can do about it. It's actually the real simpler conspiracy is just that, the fact that we've been trained to believe we're disempowered and there's nothing we can do. I believe if people change their perspective of who they are and act always according to their moral compass, they can overcome this. I mean, honestly, as far as conspiracies go, if you give me a couple of days, I can prepare a presentation and I can mount a solid case that any number of things are going on. I can prove to you that it's the Jesuits, that it's the Jews, that it's the banksters, that it's aliens, that it's this, that it's that. It just depends on what rabbit hole you want to go down. And all of it takes you to these places where you're in endless debate and you're not really looking at what's going on around you and the disempowered nature of our communities and the abuse of office that is being carried out by all of our governments. And it's as simple as that. It's abuse of office. And if we've got strong, empowered communities that realise that we are the nation, therefore any threat to us is basically a threat to national security, isn't it? So the nation can't be secure if you've got politicians who are acting in abusive office, allowing things like the TPP and TPIP to go. I mean, this is not acceptable. It's all abusive office. So it's just shifting people's perspective back to that little basic conspiracy that you're actually powerful. There's nobody who has any authority over you. We're all in this together on this planet. We don't really have rulers, and we don't have to do things just because people write it on paper. You know, it's kind of getting people to back to that state of empowerment. You know.
So first thing should be awareness that people know how things work and how they don't work.
Yeah.
And the next step should then be to take government back. Is that what you mean?
We've got to regain control of our governments. I mean, even when you want to look into the ancient mysteries and all of the mysteries that people are trying to unravel, all of these things exist because we don't have control of our governments. And all of these problems exist because we don't have control of our governments. If you want to solve any of these problems, if you want to fix what Monsanto's doing, if you want to stop the trade agreements, if you want to stop the fracking, you've got to regain control of the government by realising what you are. You know, you are the nation, and government are your employees that you employ to manage your infrastructure for you in a responsible manner. You're not doing so. If they want proof, well, Exhibit A, the Earth. Have a look at the place. It's a mess. All due to legislation that governments have put in place, and that's because we live in disunited, disempowered communities. We're all addressing symptoms. We're measuring each other by the size of our front doors and what we dress like and what we look like and what we own. It's all fiction. It's all stuff that's been created for us, and we've got to rise above that. I think that's what this is. This time, this is the greatest time in history because all the mechanism is laid bare. Everything we've ever wondered about the control grid, we can see it all now. This is the first time in human history that the workings of the mechanism have been laid so bare, and it's given us the opportunity to step into our own power and regain control of this whole mess, you know. So it's the greatest time, it's the greatest opportunity for change we've ever been given. And that's what all this is about. It's just getting these people to think that way when they come to these protests, seeing the higher picture and the bigger picture and addressing it from that perspective. You start doing that and we'll start making some real change really quickly.
Yeah, so keyword then as well as responsibility, I guess.
Well, it is. It's our responsibility. And a lot of people come along and say, well, we're all responsible for this mess. You know, and in a way we are, but in a way we're not, because the general population have been trained to think in a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's all completely the opposite of everything I just said. And so you can't really blame them for what they've done. You can't blame the people of the world for the mess that the world is in, because they've been trained to believe a certain reality is real when it isn't, and they've been trained to think and act in a certain way. And that's what this is. It's an opportunity to rise above that. That's what the awakening is. It's people realising that they don't actually have to do what they're told. All they have to do is follow their moral compass. And if they change what's in here, then everything else will change around them. See, we don't even have to pull this system down and build a new one. All we have to do is start operating according to moral parameters, do what our heart says is right all the time, and the system has to change with it. Imagine if everybody in business and everybody started actually doing the right thing, you know, and doing what was morally right instead of what was legally right or what was, you know, what worked for the books. Always worried about balancing the books rather than balancing humanity. We change the world very, very quickly, and the system, the control grid, it would fall apart. The system would have to change with us. We don't even have to pull it down and reconstruct anything. All we ought to do is pull down all these false paradigms in our heart and reconstruct our perspective. That's all we have to do.
Because sometimes I think maybe a really big event will change things, and not gradually. But within your story, I guess that gradually should be the way, and not through this big event, through a big revolution.
Well, you know, a big revolution, you know, it's a hard thing. I mean, it might get to that stage. I hope it doesn't. The problem with revolution is that, you know, a lot of the people are still looking at things from the wrong perspective. They're not spiritually aware enough to really be able to deal with anarchy, like self-governance. People simply aren't in a position to do that. You know, if you have a revolution, it creates a power vacuum, and there's powerful people, and there's still a lot of psychopaths in the world, and a lot of people with a lot of chips on their shoulders, and it could turn really ugly.
Yeah.
Could turn really good, could turn really ugly, you don't know. But if we can get into people's minds the reality of who and what they are, and everybody suddenly changes their moral compass, we don't need a revolution. It's a spiritual revolution. Without that spiritual revolution and that revolution of the heart taking place first, no revolution will work. It'll just bring us back to a point where we are now, or even worse.
Yeah,
you know.
I guess
so. The beauty of it is, you know, with true awareness of your own beauty and of your own power, you don't have to change anything. It changes around you. It's a ripple effect. you know, and that's all we've got an opportunity to do. I hope that's the way we go. I hope we don't see a revolution, but I think we're in for
Not
some rough
violent,
times.
maybe we don't need a violent revolution, but maybe a spiritual revolution.
Well, if we had a spiritual revolution, we would change it without the violence. We would. It'd be a natural thing, you know, and that's what I'm hoping for. You know, that's why I do the shows. That's why I've always presented things in that way, because I don't think there's any answer in violence. I don't. I mean, sure, you've got to defend yourself, and we're facing some pretty ugly stuff, and it may end up going that way, but my hope is that it won't.
If we look back through the years, I think 2005 you began with doing your first video, I guess, on YouTube.
It was about 2008, actually, I started doing that. I've been speaking out before then, but I didn't really discover the power of the internet through YouTube until about 2008.
Now, since then, we've all learned, so have you. When you look back at the beginning years, do you think there was anything that you regret now? Maybe you did a prediction that didn't work out? Or...
No, look, everything I've said in the films, I mean, I still stand by all of it. We've stopped a lot of stuff. I mean, people say, oh, you said that Codex was going to be in control by a certain time. Well, it isn't, because of things like the movies we put out saying, hey, they want to bring Codex back in control within 18 months. You better watch out. And we've changed that. So a lot of people can say, oh, you know, you make these predictions and they don't come true. That's good. That's great that they don't come true, because it means there's awareness and it stops. If you look at things like Brzezinski's book, The Grand Chessboard, and how they outline things, they expected the world to be in a certain place by about 2003, and here we are in 2015, and they are way, way behind.
Yeah,
they haven't even got in place what they wanted to have in 2003, which was control of Syria and all that by that time. Syria's a mess. They still haven't got control of it. So they're way, way behind schedule. And a lot of that has been to people's predictions and people calling out that a false flag may happen, and if this happens, it's going to be... So they can't do it, you know, so it's been good. But when I look at the films, I mean, all I ever tried to do with the films was bring people knowledge of the fact that the world was not the way they thought it was. The first film I put out, The Big Picture, I just basically tried to put everything in perspective and say... And even in that, I suggested that you're being led down rabbit holes, such as the like Planet X and all this sort of stuff. This is a rabbit hole. This is if it's going to happen. I mean, I don't think it is, just because of when you really look at celestial mechanics, I don't think it can. But if it did, what are you trying to prepare yourself for a celestial event by building a shelter in the backyard? I mean, this is a celestial event. You know, you're going to die one day. That's a given. Why go through life in fear of death? It's the only part of it that's inevitable. It's about what you do with all this. So that's what I tried to convey in the films, and just let people know that there's a real problem with the money system, and that there's a way out of all of this. And I think I've reached a lot of people. I don't regret anything I've put in any of the films. I've gone out on a limb sometimes, but no, I don't regret any of it.
I don't have any example as well. I just wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Then looking into the future, when we look at September, that is supposed to be maybe a bit dangerous month.
It could be. It has the potential to be. I mean, in September, BRICS Bank may come online. There is a chance, because America owes so much money, there is a chance that China could foreclose on their loan in September. And if that happens, you'll see a collapse of the entire Western financial system, which could be very, very ugly, you know. And they've got things like Jade Helm in place and all these things they're doing through America at the moment.
Yeah, so that's suspicious.
It's just, you know, never before have I seen everything in place. Like all the police states here, all our police are militarised now, right around the planet. They got all this special equipment. They're setting up the bases around the place, and it has the potential to go ugly. But it doesn't even have to go ugly. All they got to do is turn the value off the dollar, and suddenly everyone's going to want help. And suddenly the military's there to help them. And it could turn ugly, it may not. I mean, it depends on how many wars they can ramp up. But when you look at the US debt to China, it can't ever be paid. It's not possible for this debt to ever be paid, even if you sold every single resource the country's got, including all the people. You'll still never pay off the debt. So, and China's talking about bringing a new currency online. So it's all there, and we've been waiting for this big financial crash, and it may come in September, it may not. I think that's why they're trying to ramp up this whole war with Russia, you know, get all this theatre going. But I mean, again, I think it's all theatrics. I mean, the money's fiction anyway. I think it's one of the most interesting things how suddenly they can say, oh, the dollar's worthless now it's just worthless paper. It was actually worthless paper beforehand as well. We just perceived it to have value. and they can turn the value on and off, even though the infrastructure is all still there, and you continue passing it around, it'll still work.
Yeah.
But they just turn the value on and off because we owe so much money. And who do we owe it to? We owe it to the bankers who give us this play money to play with. It's a scam. It's mind control. But yeah, it could go ugly. It could go quite ugly in September. And there's a lot going on here in Europe, which is what we're seeing in Eastern Europe now. I mean, if things get ugly with the financial system, it may come over to Western Europe. And you guys have so many wars through here. The last thing you want is another war. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the crash of the financial system could bring that on. Hopefully it won't, because the people are too spiritually aware for it to happen. And I don't know. It's an interesting thing. It's just all the dominoes are there, and it's an interesting year. We knew it was going to be a big year, 2015. Mm-hmm. It's also a what's it called? The 7-year cycle. It escapes me. Shemitah. It's a Shemitah year as well. There's often things happen on Shemitah years. We had September the 11th. We had the financial crash in August, September of 2008, and now we're in 2015. And you never know. It's another one of those years.
How about the G7 in the Bilderberg that will be in a few weeks? What do you think about that?
Well, this is the real conspiracy. These are just powerful guys getting together to make plans, And Bilderberg should show people that there is. People are all working together. They're all working together on all of this. There was even someone recently, one of the politicians let it slip that, the debates are just for show. We're actually all good mates, because they are. All the global leaders are all good friends. They all work, they all interact, and it's about business. They're turning the world into a global corporation with the people as the goods and chattels, we're the commodities, and they use us to basically harvest our energy, and these are the guys who do it.
Because we'll be going over there in a few weeks.
Oh, good.
To report on that.
Oh, good.
Do you have any advice for us?
Stay out of jail if you can,